203. I'm Brett. That's Hagen. We're super excited to get started, but as always, brought to you by our partner, Chinook Seedery. Go to chinookseedery.com to get 10% off seeds if you use the discount code The Skipper's View. I'm not going to waste your time with seeds ads today because, Hagen, we hit the MLB trade deadline. Dean got married this week. I'm in my high school bedroom where I grew up, and that's why I'm in the weird background back home. Let's start off with the Mets. How do we, this deadline was super exciting. Lots of moves. We're gonna start at the NL East today. We got our resident Mets fan here on the show with us. Let's break down the Mets deadline. How did it go, Hagen?
Real quick, I just want to shout out Dean. Congratulations on the marriage. It's a big moment in life for you. But this was a great trade deadline. Honestly, one of the biggest that I've been a part of recently that I can think of. There was so many big moves in it, and good thing we get to start with the Mets here. I mean, they added Gregory Soto from the left-handed pitcher from the Baltimore Orioles. Exactly what the Mets needed. I mean, the left-handed reliever market was very thin. And since, honestly, the end of April, the Mets have needed a left-handed reliever in that bullpen, and now they have him and Brooks Raley to pair up there. So that was a great move already, just get the start. And then get Taylor Rogers. I mean, the return at first that the Giants got back for him seemed – in the moment, I was a little upset. I mean, Blade Tidwell, Drew Gilbert, and Jose Budo, I was a little upset at first that we gave up that much. But then the more I let that trade sit with me, I feel actually really good about it because I feel confident in David Stern's ability to develop pitching – get these guys back. And Drew Gilbert realistically did not have a spot on this team. I mean, at best, he's a fourth outfielder in the Mets. Tyrone Taylor's a fourth outfielder. You can get guys who are cheap like that. That's not a hard position to get there. So I really love that Tyler Rogers trade, especially getting a different look too, being the seventh inning guy there. And then after that, you fully solidified the bullpen, made it one of the best, but I would say probably second or third best in all of Major League Baseball. We're getting closer from the Cardinals, Ryan Helsley, and that was the bread and butter. That's what made this deadline very exciting for Mets fans here. I mean, you have arguably the best eighth, ninth inning in Mets history right here with Ryan Helsley and Edwin Diaz. And going in front of them, you have the Tyler Rogers, who's, I believe, a negative 50 arm degree angle, and Helsley's complete opposite at like 48 degrees. So this back end of the Mets bullpen is elite now. And you didn't have to go up any of your top five prospects for Helsley. You have Jesus Baez, Nate Dome, and Frank Ellison. I know some people are high on Ellison and Dome, but honestly, to get Ryan Helsley, I'll do this any day of the week. And then to close off their deadline, they got Cedric Mullins for Roman Gonzalez, Chandler Marsh, and Anthony Nunez. Just three. I mean, it was their 30th ranked prospect, and then just two reliever guys. So nothing big there, which the Mets really needed to upgrade a center field position there. Out of the bat, Mullins crushes left-handed pitching, surprisingly. He's a reverse splits guy. Having a good month. I give the Mets like a B+. I really like their deadline this year. It wasn't anything too crazy, especially how it ended for most teams, but I can't complain at all. I really like this deadline. David Stern's work he did.
Dude, Mets, I think, killed it. I think Helsley is he's up there. I haven't done an official ranking yet. It's 9:00 on deadline day. We've had a busy week here with the Skipper's View team with this wedding. So played golf this morning, could have done more, but you know what I mean? It's just been friends, family, nonstop. And then the baseball world's had a million things. We've had Hall of Fame inductions. We have Hall of Fame players pass away. R.I.P. Sandberg, Dino from the Cubs. So it's been a busy week. But the Cubs, I think when all's said and done with the Mets, I'm going to look at this Helsley deal as one of the top 5 sneakiest moves of the deadline. I think they had the lineup, and they just bolstered this bullpen with Helsley. Helsley throws gas. I don't even, what's his top miles per hour? Like 103 or 105 miles an hour? It doesn't matter. He could throw a baseball.
I believe it's 4.
He could throw a baseball faster than most people could drive a car. That's pretty much the way to look at it. Illegally or legally. But the point is, like, the Mets really went out and found guys for September and October baseball. You gotta love that as a fan of the Mets. That's my big takeaway from the Mets. Let's talk about the Braves a little bit. Braves are, I'm a little disappointed. They didn't really seem to sell a whole lot. And they had pieces. People talked about Chris Sale potentially getting moved. I know that was kind of shut down because they said they were not going to really move anyone with more than 1 year control at the deadline. But they didn't move Marcell Ozuna, which I thought they could have gotten top value for, close to top value for Marcell Ozuna at this point in his career. They didn't move Sean Murphy, who was rumored, especially with Drake Baldwin coming up and being so good this year as a young catcher. I'm trying to think who else was on their docket. Raciel
Brazil
Iglesias.
Iglesias.
Well, they didn't move any of them. Hagen, what do you think that's about? Why do you think they did it this way?
I mean, I put out a tweet right after the deadline ended, and I said, "Does Alex Anthopoulos know the trade deadline ended?" Because he sat on his ass all day long. Like, I'm not even just saying this because I don't like the Braves, but what the hell was that? That was an awful trade deadline from the Atlanta Braves. I mean, you could have got Raisel Iglesias moved. We saw what these relievers were going for. I know he hasn't been his best this year. That's still, I mean, we saw a team like Houston. Houston was looking for a reliever to the last minute. Why didn't you go in there, see if you give him something? I mean, if you just look at what the Braves did, they honestly bought more than they traded. They gave away Rafael Montero. They got Carlos Carrasco and Eric Fetty. They honestly bought more than they sold this deadline. I have no clue what they were doing this year. I mean, the Marcelo Zuna thing, that's a bat people would want. I mean, I will give him a little less slack on that because he does have the 10-5 rights, so he can veto any trade he has. But it wasn't like there was a trade in place. It seemed like that they even tried to move him. And from what the Braves fans have told me, from what I've talked to, they didn't say it really seemed like he was even trying to move him. So I give the Atlanta Braves an F. I thought that was an awful trade deadline, and Alex Anthopoulos just sat on his ass the entire time.
I have to agree. The Braves just seemed like, they have so many good core pieces and they have them signed for a bit between Acuna and Olson and Riley and Strider and Schwellenbach and like Michael Harris II, like guys who are either rebounding, not having great years, or looking to rebound big next year. Felt like you had the part to go and be competitive next year, sell these pieces, get some prospects, and just build in free agency around the core. And I thought that was a simple thing. You know what's surprised? They didn't even get involved in the Carlos Correa sweepstakes. And I know Correa is not the player he once was, but they need a shortstop badly, and they have money to spend. They have great team friendly deals with all these guys. You could have thought that if they're really trying for next year, why not go heavily after a guy like Carlos Correa and get your shortstop that you need to fill the gap that is a stud. He's just been a stud baseball. I don't know. Weird
And
deadline in Atlanta.
And before we rotate over like to the Phillies, I do just want to say the one thing too that like makes me so upset. Like, and I'm saying this as a Mets fan, where it's I want the best for the. I don't want the Braves to succeed, yes, but I want them to do the right thing. And when was the last time the Atlanta Braves were able to sell? Looking forward to the roster. I don't know if they're going to be sellers again in the next few years. Like, I mean, the roster is still insanely talented. So that's what just pisses me off. Is just this is kind of your one opportunity to help build that farm system a little bit back up. I don't think we're going to get any top guys, but it was I was very turned off by the deadline.
It was like it was so bad. It really made me like rethink of where I rank like Alex Anthopoulos as a GM. Like I had him up here forever just because he got these guys to sign these deals and like it wasn't fully like a salesman job. Like it's if you're a young player and you do look at it, it's like, oh, this guy's not gonna. I'm not gonna get the $400 million contract, but I'm gonna get 140 million for my next 7 years. It's like that is family like money for a long time. A lot of generations can see that money if you invested right. That's generational wealth. That is life changing money. 140 million still, and he got a bunch of these guys on this team to agree to all these deals. So it is shocking. He's obviously not, he's not on the hot seat or anything right now, and like he could be soon. Braves have had two bad back-to-back seasons, so who's to say another GM couldn't come in and just take advantage of these deals that he set up and really capitalize on them for a World Series run here in the next couple of years. Who knows? I'm not saying Anthopoulos is on the hot seat again. Let me restate that. That's just me like thinking out loud here. But let's talk about the Phillies, the team in the NL East who's going to give the Mets, I think, the obviously the most trouble here coming up. Um, Philly, they went and got their guy in Juan Duran. They needed a bullpen piece, and in the process, they also got Harrison Bader. So I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts, Phillies? Do you think they did enough?
I honestly feel like they did. You know, I think when they got Yohan Duran, I thought that was the big move that they needed. I didn't think they had to make any huge splashes after that. I mean, we've been talking for months now on this pod about how they have to add bullpen arms. You add Yohan Duran. You're going to have David Robertson in there. That doesn't put as much pressure on him anymore. You're going to have Jose Alvarado to help get you to the postseason, save some arms a little bit there. Ryan Kirkring. So Mostrom. This bullpen's pretty solid now. Like I'm not. You still have Romano. Like Romano was probably your sixth, seventh inning guy, and now at this point, I really love that move. And even too, you have Duran. You have him for 2 more years after this as well. I mean, that was you have the closer locked down for the next couple of years. You don't have to try to piece together a Jordan Romano type signing anymore and do that. And then the Harrison Bader signing, I know they were in on Luis Robert Jr. and them and the Mets were kind of the 2 finalists, it seemed like, for him, even though he didn't get moved. It felt like to me either one of those teams was going to get him. But it felt like, too, like even as a Mets fan, it felt like once the Phillies made a move, the Mets were reactionary to it. They got an outfielder once the Phillies got an outfielder. They got the closer once the Phillies got the closer. Because I feel like these teams feel they're very close to each other. And they know that, hey, if they do something, we got to do something too. And I feel like if the Mets would have went out and added something else at the end, I think the Phillies would have done the same. So, I mean, and even Harrison Bader too. I mean, surprisingly, a 117 WRC plus. I mean, that's a great upgrade to that offense there at the bottom of the lineup there. Feels that you can play center field for him exactly what they needed. I actually really like Philly's deadline.
Yeah, I don't think it was the right moves. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting moves, but Philly is loaded with talent. Right now, their rotation, if you dive into it, they got Zach Wheeler, Lizardo, who, he's so hot or cold, Christopher Sanchez, who's been lights out, Ranger Suarez, and then Taijuan Walker is your 5th starter. And in the bullpen right now, you got Robertson in the minors. Once he's eligible, and I think it's on the 16th or something like that, when he's able to come up, you got Juan Duran, Jordan Romano, Matt Strom, Robertson, Orion Kirkring, guys who can all deliver come the playoffs. And like I know Orion Kirkring is the only one young, not a whole lot of playoff baseball experience, but he throws gas. And who's to say why not 6th inning? I don't want to verse Orion Kirkring when he's on. F that. But Phillies, the lineup itself, they got Real Muto, they got Harper. We know the names. Like we know Schwarber. We know these guys. I would have liked them to maybe gone over after a third baseman a little bit more, just with the Alec Baum injury. But Baum will probably be back for a playoff run, so I can see why they stayed put and didn't really sell the farm in order to make moves that could help them win. Like they have plenty of talent right now to go ahead and win a World Series if they got hot. That's for damn sure. I don't think anyone would disagree with me on that. So covered everyone besides the Marlins, really. We'll get into them a little bit more when we talk about Houston. But we covered Braves, Mets, Phillies, and who else am I missing?
Nationals, but they were just selling.
They were just selling. Are you happy with the Nationals? I guess not. I shouldn't say happy as the Mets fan, but are you impressed with what they did? They obviously made a lot of trades and improved their farm system quite a bit.
There wasn't anything to me that screamed like, I love that move. I hated that move. I mean, I feel like they just kind of did what they should have done. Honestly, just sell off your guys, get some prospects in return. I know mostly, admittedly, so I don't know many of these prospects very well that they got back, so I don't have too strong of thoughts on that. But I mean, Soroka, we expected him to get moved. Kyle Finnegan, we expected him to get moved. I mean, they got someone for Alex or Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia from the Angels there, so I thought they did a good job. I mean, it wasn't a crazy. I wouldn't say they had a great deadline by any means, but I wouldn't say they had a bad. I would say middle of the pack.
They got 4 guys that have now been added to their top 30 prospects overall, and they didn't really move anyone big. So that's a win. I give them, a B minus, I guess we'll say. I don't know what much more they could have done, but I would even give them a B, honestly, just because like you have the pieces coming up with the Dylan Cruz who's been injured. James Wood looks like an animal at the plate. You got guys like CJ Abrams who have all the talent in the world. We just want to see it for a full season all put together. I'm sure I'm forgetting some guys right now, like Luis Garcia and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's pretty good coverage for the NL East at this point. There might be a deal here or there we're missing. Apologies if someone's connected to someone on a small deal that we're not mentioning, but we're trying to run through 6 divisions, 30 teams here. So let's talk NL Central. So I guess who do you want to start with in the Central? Cubbies?
Let's start with the Cubs, yeah.
Okay. So the Cubbies, I heard they were in, and it's actually that's actually a really good transition because I saw earlier today they were in on Mackenzie Gore. Obviously, we're not able to get a deal done. Um, do you think the Cubs did enough with the starting pitching to in order to make a realistic run this year with this offense that they this behemoth of an offense that they have?
I don't know. I felt like they should have done a little more. I think, I mean, we were in a space here during the deadline the last couple of hours, and we were all kind of expecting them to go get the Sandy, go get the Joe Ryan. I know those were kind of big moves. No one really expected like a Joe Ryan to move, but go get, because we know they wanted controllable starting pitching. Go get the guys like that. Because, I mean, if you look at this rotation right now, I mean, Matthew Boyd's been great this year. I think you feel confident in him starting a playoff game for you. Shota's up there. Shota's one. Matthew Boyd's your two right now. Your three is either Colin Ray, Cade Horton, or Michael Soroka, whichever one take your picking there. And then that could be bad. I feel like I don't know how I feel about this pitching, the starters, because I don't. This offense bangs. We all know that this offense can win a World Series with their offense if you have a great pitching staff behind them. I mean, then the bullpen too. I mean, I like the Andrew Kittredge and Taylor Rogers additions, and even Drew Pomeranz they made earlier. But I don't feel like they made enough pitching. I was really turned off by the Cubs deadline. I felt like it wasn't a bad to awful deadline by any means, but it was just very stale. I mean, you got Willie Castro too to help out with the offense a little bit, but I just was waiting for that big arm. Like even if it was a Zach Gallen, like that, someone who didn't even get moved. But is Soroka going to start a playoff game for him? I mean, it's the Cubs could be, especially if an injury goes down, if Boyd or Imanaga gets hurt. They're pitching screwed, man. And this bullpen, I know they had a stretch of being good for a long time, but this can be a very shaky pen at times.
I can go off in the Cubs right now and do the Stephen A. Smith thing where you yell a lot and think you're funny. I'm not going to do that, but I'm really disappointed in the Cubs. And it's not, this isn't fit. This is real. Like I told you, I said on this podcast, I'm not a fan of the Cubs. I'm a Cubs hater. I will fully admit that. I lived in Chicago, did that. Definitely like the White Sox more. Definitely more my people. Um, you have one of the best offenses this city has seen in years. In baseball right now, your offense is lethal. You obviously lose Justin Steele for the year, and you're not going to compliment Kyle Tucker. What are you doing? Why would Kyle Tucker want to stay long term? You have shown you're unwilling to spend. And you have guys, outfield prospects like the Owen Caseys of the world, who can much better serve in Miami and help them rebuild. And you get Sandy Alcantara. I don't understand the logic because it's like you have this guy PCA who looks like the most entertaining guy on two legs in baseball right now. You got Kyle Tucker, who you're trying to convince to sign long term, who's a top 10 player in the game. And then you got guys like Michael Bush having career years who you traded for. You literally traded to build this roster of youth and depth, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I got the hiccups. Um, the Cubs rotation, if like you look at their 40-man roster right now, you're throwing out Matthew Boyd, Ben Brown, Cade Horton, Shota Imanaga, and I'm trying to look for starters here. I guess Colin Ray, who's been solid, and now Soroka. Like this is not. That's a loss in the wild card type staff. I'm sorry. Like I don't have faith in it, and it really is annoying when like the good teams have not only the capital like to sign like trade for these guys, they also have the prospects to acquire them. They definitely did to acquire some pitching. Like they didn't even go out and get like Steven Matz to add back on the bullpen or something like that. Um, really disappointing for Cubs. I'm giving them like I might give them a D for the deadline here. Um, tough deadline. And especially because they're trailing the Brewers now. And the Brewers kind of fleeced a couple of teams today, I feel. But um, needless to say, we'll move on to the Brewers. What were your, takeaways from they acquired Danny Jansen. They acquired this oh no, that was a while ago. Um Trying to see who else they went through today. Didn't they get Jordan Montgomery for free essentially?
Yeah, they had him and Shelby Miller. I think it was the last deal that came through, if I'm not mistaken. There, I mean, it was Shelby Miller and Jordan Montgomery for literally nothing. Which Shelby Miller is on the IL right now, and Jordan Montgomery was kind of the shocker in there. Probably the funniest move to me that I was like, he got moved today because he's out for the year. So the Brewers, in essence, are saying, "Hey, we'll just take on that money, whatever he's owed left, the prorated $7 million, whatever it is." And the Diamondbacks said, "You don't have to give us anything back," which was I thought was kind of a funny thing. I've never seen that before. But obviously, just another bullpen arm for them to work with there. And then they gave up Nestor Cortez, which honestly, that was kind of a little bit of a surprise to me. I know they have the big pitching. They have enough pitching that doesn't hurt them at all. But honestly, didn't have Nestor Cortez going anywhere on my radar at all. And then Danny Jansen, I mean, the upgraded catcher Eric Haas was awful for them.
They
It was
sent Nestor Cortez to who? I didn't see that deal.
Padres.
So, and the thing is, you know who they're going to call up? A little guy named Logan Henderson, who's been really good in the minors. So, and he was really good in the majors when he came up. So, I don't think they're worried. Let's talk about the Cardinals. I think they, um, they definitely had a little bit of an interesting day. They currently, right now, they sit in fourth place in the division. They're 55 and 55. Um, what are your thoughts on the Cardinals moves today?
I mean, it wasn't like a full sell, I would say, because they kept their main guys and like especially their core there. So they still feel like they want to be competitive in the next couple of years here. But obviously, give up Steven Matz. I think you kind of expected a Steven Matz to go. You get Blaze Jordan back for that. I think a lot of people thought that was a fleece there
Oh,
by the Cardinals.
Dean was pissed. Dean was pissed. And then on top of
And
that, sorry, keep going.
and then Phil Maton, one of the last minute deals in the last 5 minutes there. You get a few prospects back for him. I think we all expect Phil Maton to leave. I mean, he's on a 1 year deal. So cash on your reliever there. And then obviously the Helsley deal was the big thing for them. Obviously, you got Jesus Baez and Nate Dome and a Frank Ellison. There wasn't any like crazy prospects. I mean, Baez is the main guy that you'd want back there in that return there. But he's sliding into their sixth ranked prospect as well. But I, I think they were trying to stay put a little bit to stay competitive just in case they do have a shot. The team does get hot, but you also just traded away 3 bullpen arms in your closer, so it's hard to really compete. So it's almost just a soft sell, is that the way I'd put it.
Yeah, and like they're kind of like the Braves, where their core is definitely not nearly as established, but they have guys like the Mason Wins of the world that they're going to rely on for a little bit here. I think that the Cardinals have somewhat of a plan, especially catching. They look solid um, for the future. They look solid. I'm just trying to look all over. Jordan Walker, he's got too much talent. I feel to not pan out at some point. Um, but yeah, Cardinals, they kind of need. There's a weird one because this most last go round, right? And they're going to pass the reins next year to the GM in waiting. What's his name again? From Boston. He's
Heimblum.
the weird name. I always forget it. Heimblum. Yeah. So Heimblum, I think if he does what he did with Boston, St. Louis is going to be fine. Maybe he had some say in this. I don't know how much say. That's really the interesting part is that this was like a 2 GM probably approach, even though like people think it's one. I think it was more of a two-way approach here between Heimblum and John Mozeliak. Let's talk about the Reds real quick. They didn't really make big moves. They acquired Brian Hayes from Pittsburgh, which I thought was really weird. I don't know how you felt about that. They also acquired, they traded away Miguel Andujar, correct? Or they acquired him. I can't.
Acquired it from the A's.
And they acquired Zach Littell as well from Tampa
Correct. And
for
I did
prospect.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like that Zach Littell move. Obviously, he was someone that I really wanted on the Mets team there. Just I think he's just it's not pretty to say, oh, I got Zach Littell pitching today. But if you just look at the numbers, he gets the job done. I mean, he's a 5-star. He's got a 3.38 ERA, I believe, right now. Obviously, now he slides in there with Lodolo, Abbott, Singer, and Burns. I think it's a pretty solid rotation, if you ask me there. So I do like that Littell move. And then, obviously, the Andujar, I think that was just kind of hey, you just try to stir up the offense there a little bit. There was a few names they were in on for bat wise. Brian Hayes one. I get you're taking on the contract, I guess, and does have a 99 career WRC plus at Greater Market Ballpark, which I think is worthy of noting. But I don't know if that's like you trade for a third baseman who can't hit. He can play great defense. But obviously, I think they got to see something in him too, or have some hope in him if they're trading for him. Because obviously, it's obviously not a huge contract, but that's years you have to commit to. It's money you have to commit to. Something that I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that move, but I think they have an idea on what they want to do, try to fix them, something like that.
Watch Brian Van Bell, the acquisition from the Zach Littell move, become a stud this season. I didn't realize he's a 28-year-old prospect who's he's not in the top 30, but he's in the AAA affiliate, and he also has 87 innings pitched to 72 strikeouts this year. So pretty solid season in AAA, if you ask me. Um, we'll see. He's older, but Zach Littell is obviously older too. So no, no harm, no foul. Let's talk about the Pirates real quick because they definitely made a few moves. They moved David Bednar to the Yankees, which we'll talk about more as we move on. But they moved Ivan. They acquired Ivan Bretho from the Cubs for Taylor Rogers. They made a move with the Royals for Bailey Falter. They made a move. This actually spelled more. Someone put Derek Bednar here. But they acquired Rafael Flores, Adeline Perez, and Brian Sanchez from the Yankees. Flores, I think people are really high on, so we'll see how that pans out. And then they also acquired they acquired Jeter Martinez for Caleb Ferguson. Is that all? Everything you see with the Pirates today? There was a few trades from them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you get the Taylor Rogers back in part of that Reds deal for Key Brian Hayes. You flip him for Yvonne Breathauer, however you say that. But I mean, they got some good, no crazy big prospects here that you got back. But I mean, obviously, you deal the Rogers flip there. So Key Brian Hayes, Falter, Bednar, Caleb Ferguson. But I feel like they didn't do enough. I mean, why aren't you selling a Tommy Pham? There's always a market every year for a Tommy Pham. Like, I know you're not getting anything big for him, but you traded him. Andrew Heaney, I know he's not been great this year. He's an innings eater. Teams the innings eaters. IKF, I swear there was 10 teams that needed a guy like IKF, who's not awful with the bat this year by any means. And I mean, too, it's just, I mean, he can play great defense for you. He can play shortstop. He can play third base. I mean, he can play all over for you. Just give you good defense as a backup guy. Like, I thought the Yankees were a good fit for him too. Obviously, they went somewhere else, but I'm just kind of surprised they didn't move a few of those guys. I mean, I wouldn't say that hurt their deadline like crazy, but just I was a little surprised those guys didn't go. And obviously, the Mitch Keller, who seemed like for months he was going to be traded, and obviously not, but you still have him for I believe 4 more years. So we'll be in the same situation with him next year.
Yeah, I just hope the Pirates they just make some free agent moves. It's like not fair to the Skeenses and the Mitch Kellers and the O'Neill Cruzes of the world if they don't add, which they need to. Um, let's jump to the NL West. Let's start with the Padres because they went out. The Padres had one of the craziest deadlines of what I was expecting. Everyone knows that um, San Diego's typically been aggressive, especially as of late the last few years. They went out and acquired Mason Miller from the Athletics. They also made a deal with Baltimore to acquire Ryan O'Hearn. Right now, the Padres sit at second place in the NL West. They're 1649. They didn't move Dylan Cease, your doppelganger, and uh, I don't. I think they're going for it. Well, clearly they're going for it. I shouldn't say I think they are. What do you think of San Diego's deadline?
I mean, in a 5 to 6 hour span, AJ Preller traded away 14 players. 14 players. I mean, excuse my language, but AJ Preller said, "Fuck them kids." He said, "I don't care about this farm system. I'm going all in right now." It was especially like last year where he got the Tanner Scott and gave up what we thought was kind of like, whoa, you're gonna give up that for you're gonna get 15 innings out of a reliever here. Mason Miller a little bit different. You can stretch him out to be a starter later on. I think that's probably what you would do just for the value you give up there. I mean, Pipeline has Leo DeVries as the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, which it's been a while since we've had a top dog prospect be moved like this. But You get Mason Miller, who's I know the ERA has been extremely inflated this year, but I don't think Mason Miller's his ERA does not represent the type of pitcher he is. I love that move. I also it's a huge risk there that could cost you a job if that does not work out very well for you. But AJ Preller doing what he always does. He's always going to get rid of his prospects, and he's going to have the farm system stock back up in a couple of years. You get JPC's there to fill a spot in the rotation there. Freddie Fermain, I mean, you fill catcher up a little bit better. I mean, the projection systems don't like him going forward, but I mean that's an upgrade there just from results aspect of it compared to like a Martin Maldonado. You get O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano. That's two bats you need right there. Laureano is going to be that corner outfield bat that you're looking for. And then you also get you get the Will Wagner to play there, get some depth option there because their depth has been lacking too. If you look at the roster resource before the deadline, it was not great once you got past the top 5 in the lineup. And then you got Nestor Torres Jr., as we talked a little bit earlier, just back in the rotation arms, especially when you traded away Ryan Berger and Stephen Kolek, you needed to fill those spots back up there. So I like the Sears and the Cortez acquisitions there to make sure it's not just a huge drop off in that rotation there. But I think the Padres, I think they got to be one of the winners of this trade deadline. I mean, obviously you gave up your whole farm system in essence, but you add 2 to 3 good bats. You add Mason Miller, might be the biggest. You make the biggest deal of the deadline. Maybe I don't know how you're not winners there.
My one thing about the Padres, and I commented everywhere that they are the winners of the deadline, is that Leo DeVries all year, his stock had been going incrementally up. He's a young player. I might have been the top international player out of the class for his year.
Correct. I believe he got $4 million.
I had him in a couple dynasty leagues for fantasy. I don't know how to take his stock now that he's in Oakland's system. And was Preller being that aggressive? Because it seems to me like this could be a big mistake moving Leo DeVries for a closer. Am I wrong? Or I know it's Mason Miller. I'm just saying, like, it's a big prospect.
No, it is. It is a very big risk. And I mean, if anyone's going to do this, it's going to be AJ Preller as we know it. But the thing that I will say, just to back Preller a little bit here, is you can still stretch Mason Miller out to be a starter. He was still a starter, I believe, a year and a half, 2 years ago. You can start him back out to that. He also, too, he's controllable. It's not like you traded for a guy and in a year and a half he's gone. You have him for a long time. I believe 4 years of control, 3.5 years of control, whatever it is. That's a lot. So I know, I mean, from like a WAR aspect, if LDV pans out, you're not going to get the value of that aspect. But this Padres payroll, they're shrinking. Their window is right now. He said, we're going all in right now. We have a chance to win a World Series. I think he saw last year that if they beat the Dodgers, I believe they would have won the World Series last year. And the team doesn't look that different compared to last year. And so the Dodgers didn't really add much to the deadline here. And he said, I'm just going to solidify my bullpen like crazy here. If I can have a lockdown bullpen there, my offense score me some runs, I can depthen out this lineup here. I think we have a shot to beat the Dodgers and win the World Series this year. And I think that's the way AJ Preller was looking at it.
Yeah, he got aggressive. You gotta give him. He's got balls. So we'll see how it all pans out. The fun thing is we won't really get to really evaluate this trade for probably 7 years when DeVries is finally in the major leagues and like entering his prime. It's like either, oh wow, this was a great deal, or oh shit, this was a horrible deal. But we'll keep moving on. Speaking of the World Series aspirations, we should probably talk about the World Series reigning champions, and that's the Dodgers. So let's talk about the fleece. Everyone thinks that the Dodgers fleeced the Boston Red Sox today in this Dustin May for James Tibbs. Is it the second or third, James Tibbs?
The third.
It's the third. So James Tibbs, former first-round pick. It's the Dodgers. We all know they know how to cultivate and grow these prospects. The Red Sox end up moving this top prospect over to LA for Dustin May, who's been okay at best this year. And he showed signs of, spotlights of greatness, but he's been injured a lot in his career. What do you think about this deal?
I mean, I said before we started the show, I thought Craig Breslow pissed down his leg because he was just in the no man's land where all he did was get Steven Matz for the whole deadline, and then there was 20 minutes left, and he hadn't done anything else. Where it was, are you buying? Are you selling? What are you doing here? Because you're caught in the no man's land where you don't want to be. You got to pick one or the other. You can't be. I don't like this middle ground here. And then it just came 5 minutes left. You hear nothing. And then it was okay. Do you have a deal in for Dustin May? And I just feel like he was too scared almost because then he gave up James Tibbs, your main return for the Rafael Devers trade. I mean, we were joking before with Will from Overdue Sports. The Dodgers won the Rafael Devers trade. Rafael Devers plays for their rivals, and they might have won the Rafael Devers trade. Like the Red Sox got back Jordan Hicks, who's a reliever for him now, Kyle Harrison, who's a 4 or a 5 starter. I mean, a pitching prospect, and Dustin May for 8 starts. Craig Breslow, this was I think very differently about him now after this. He did not handle this deadline well whatsoever. I thought the Red Sox were one of the biggest losers of this deadline. And sorry, I know I went on a Red Sox tangent there, not the Dodgers there, but I mean the Dodgers did have not a crazy deadline by any means. Obviously, I like the Alex Call addition there, especially because you got rid of a James Outman there for Brock Stewart, which Brock Stewart was a great addition. I mean, just look at his baseball savant page. I know he's not a big name. If you're a Dodgers fan, look at his baseball savant page. You'll like him after that. That was a great spot, especially that bullpen that's needed help surprisingly. And then you get Alex Call to fill in that spot for him after that, be a fourth outfielder type. So I didn't think it was too flashy. I think I was expecting a big move from the Dodgers here, but I mean, you got a good prospect back for Dustin May when you have your pitchers getting back healthy again, and it's a good bullpen up there. I don't think it was crazy. Maybe a B minus is what I'd give him.
Yeah, I, I I'm gonna talk about the Giants here a little bit. I'm gonna switch subjects just a tad. So I'm looking at this now. The Giants, they obviously made the deal with the Mets with Tyler Rogers. Obviously the Giants, one of the more intriguing teams from this NL West division, due to the fact that they went out and traded for Devers like in the midnight hour, and no one knew about it, and everyone was like, "Oh, they're going to get super, super, super aggressive." They went out, they acquired Blake Tidwell and Drew Gilbert from the Mets, which are now top 15 prospects for them. For Tyler Rogers, they sold Camilo Duvall in a trade with the Yankees, and they acquired 2 more prospects that will be included in their top 25. And that was really it. They did a deal with the Royals, including Mike Yastrzemski, getting 1 prospect. They sold. So this was weird. Maybe they just plan to build around Devers for the next few years. What were your takes on this?
I didn't really expect the Giants to sell, and I don't know if that was in response to what other teams were doing here, but I mean, if you do look at it too, I mean, they're 1 game under 500. They're 6 games out right now, and if you just look at their, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd both say the Mets, the Phillies, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Brewers, and Padres. I mean, that's 6 playoff teams right there. Where I wonder if they looked at it and they said, you know, man, it's not worth buying to be an outside, to be the 7th best team, and have to go on a run here and hopefully one of those 6 teams falters that just all went out and bought at the deadline. I mean, even with the Reds too, they're 3 games behind the Reds, and the Reds bought. So I think Buster Posey just looked at himself and he said, I know we have Rafael Devers. We're going to have him for X amount more years more after this. I think it's just smart to just let's trade away our bullpen arms. I don't like a Tyler Rogers. I mean, I thought that was a great return for someone who's pitching in the 7th, 8th inning for you. I mean, especially someone who's going to be a free agent after the year. You can always sign him back at the end of the year as well. But Camilo Doval too, that one surprised me a little bit. Especially, I know the package was not anything huge by any means. I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger, even though I know he has been very shaky. I know he's been great this year, was great a couple of years ago, and then last year was DFA'd, but we all know. But if I was a Giants fan, I wouldn't be too happy about this deadline, but sometimes you just have to look at the rest of the pack and you have to say this might not be our year.
Yeah. As for the Diamondbacks and Rockies, I think we'll just cover them as we go through other teams because they were both massive sellers. They acquired a ton, but we'll go through them as they mainly traded with American League teams here, and we'll jump ship to the American League here. So, I think it's a natural transgress just because I'm here. Let's start with the Yanks. As a Yank fan, this morning. I was pissed. I was really pissed. I was like, Judge is out. You you can't be aggressive in a sense of like trading all the farms away for guys for this year, especially with Judge being out right now. We don't know how long he will definitely be out for. Like I think he will be back. Don't get me wrong. And Judge's time is only so little here with the Yankees in his prime and the numbers he's putting up. So I think like between Stan's starting to hit a little bit, Bellinger's been great. Volpe, I was at the game on Tuesday, hit a monster home run to center field. Good for his confidence. The Yankees, I don't think it's a personnel thing. I think it's a management thing with the Yankees. And I've said this now. I'm going to say it first time on public on this podcast. I'm pretty sure this is the first time. Who knows? I probably have said it before and forgot, but I think it's time that Boone has to go, and I think that Cashman as well probably has to join him. Even and that's being said after acquiring Duvall, Bednar. They went out and got Jose Calabrero. They got Ahmad Rosario last week. Pieces to help them out in the infield, but it just it didn't make full sense to me. The Yankees, like obviously they needed bullpen pieces, which is awesome. They addressed exactly what they needed. I just think it's not enough yet again to get over the hill and win that coveted World Series trophy. I just don't. Um, that being said, Hagen, what do you think about the Yankees, like and all their moves that they made? They obviously made a ton, and I don't know. I forgot Jake Bird. I was not a fan of giving Rock Riggio up for Jake Bird reliever. Um, what were your thoughts on the Yankees?
I think especially when you look at their farm system and what they really had to work with at first, especially when it was Spencer Jones going to go. You're not going to trade George Lombard. I actually really like this deadline, what the Yankees did. I mean, you solidified. I mean, I said earlier the Mets are a top three bullpen in baseball. I think the other two in there are the San Diego Padres and the New York Yankees now. I mean, you already had Devin Williams and Luke Weaver there in the eighth and ninth inning. You put David Bednar, Jake Bird, and Camilo Doval in there now. Like, this bullpen is filthy. I know they didn't get the big starter, but they went out there and they got the bullpen. They said, hey, if we can't pay the starting pitcher price, we'll pay the price for these relievers who are expiring contracts, guys like that, where you can afford those guys. And into like other moves, I mean, just like the Caballero, it's not like a crazy move there. That's just, hey, let's just give us a guy off the bench who can steal some bags, make stuff happen. Obviously, you get Austin Slater too. I mean, he mashes against left-handed pitching. Kind of something you need, just a bench outfield bat out there. And if you do look, I know Peter Apple was talking about it, about how he's one of the best bench hitters since I believe like 2015. He's like a 140 OPS plus when he's pinch hitting, which is what the Yankees need, a pinch hitter who can do that. So if I was obviously Ryan McMahon too, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I really like the Yankees deadline. Like for what they had to work with farm system wise, I'm giving them an A minus.
Yeah, I'm not mad about the deadline, and maybe I rephrased that wrong. I'm more just upset about how the rosters come to take shape and form. I think they needed like a Suarez or something like that, another just massive bat in the middle of the lineup, um, more than the pitching. I think that they could have gotten away with some of the relievers now. Like Loizaga has been terrible. Ian Hamilton, I think he was much better last year, maybe the season before, than what we're seeing right now. So obviously the bullpen is lethal, which is awesome. And I know like there's many other teams that have much worse situations. I'm being very very, um, you know, uh, first world problems here type Yankee fan, but I think it's time for a shakeup. I want to see more internal developments and like the reason why they couldn't make that big splash is because they only have so few prospects that like they think can make that jump to the MLB and make a real impact. Like you said, the Spencer Jones, the George Lombards of the world. But I'm glad they didn't move either of those guys, and it didn't look like at least I didn't see I don't think they may move Cam Schlittler, which I was pretty happy about because Schlittler's looks solid. I was also Ben Hess, first round pick out of Alabama or second round pick out of Alabama last year. I don't remember what round, but very early on. Chase Hampton, the Henry Lalanes of the world, they didn't have to move on from a lot of them. So I'm pretty happy in that aspect. It's more of just like thinking October baseball. Is this team enough between starting rotation, lineup, and like defensively, they're terrible. They could have used a Brian Hayes, honestly, at third. They could have. They totally could have used like a Brian Hayes. I would have been that much happier just because his defense, even though the bat's not there. But we'll move on. I know people are going to disagree with me on that. Let's talk. We talked about the Red Sox already. The only trade that we didn't really highlight was I think Craig Breslow also messed up with the Blaze Jordan Steve Matz trade. I think that you tried to get depth at the rotation and you gave a pretty good prospect for some guy who's not been that good. Are you a big Steven Matz fan, being that he was a former Met?
I sleep next to it. There's a picture on my wall of a signed Steven Matz picture. So I'm a big Steven Matz guy, but he's just a lefty reliever nowadays. He's nothing special.
I will say this: Steven Matz went to from Stony Brook, I think, or maybe Setauket, Long Island. He went to Ward Melville High School. It's where my dad went. R.I.P. And that's why we'll give him a shout out. And I hope the best for him because Ward Melville guy, Long Island guy, I gotta root for him. But I just Blaze Jordan seems like he's gonna be a pretty big prospect. So we'll see. We'll see how that one turns out. Let's turn our eyes to north of the border, Toronto. They go out and acquire Shane Bieber. That was like probably their biggest move of the day. Who else did Blue Jays acquire?
They got Louis Varlin and Ty France, and then also got Sir Anthony Dominguez in that doubleheader move a couple of days ago.
So they move Will Wagner. They acquire Dominguez, a good reliever, and they acquire Shane Bieber, who's a Cy Young winner. Obviously, he's about to come off the IL. I think he's been doing rehab starts at this point. And they moved, made this deal with the Twins for Louis Varland and Ty France. Is this enough for Toronto, the way they've been playing? They're right now 64 and 46. They're almost 20 games above 500, which is crazy to think. And they're leading the AL East, and they are one of the best teams, the second best team in the AL right now. Is this enough for them to go win in September, October baseball?
If I was a Blue Jays fan, I wouldn't be mad about this deadline at all here. I mean, I think Shane Bieber was a very surprising move. I was one of those guys. I was wondering if they were going to get a starting pitcher or not. But I mean, you have to be happy in getting a Shane Bieber there. I know he's coming off Tommy John surgery, so you don't really. It's kind of a risk there. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. Is he going to be like the Sandy Alcantara type, where he's not great, or there's some guys who come back and they can be very good. But he's a low velo guy who's going to rely on control, that's one of the last things to come from Tommy John. So I think that's why the Guardians felt good to deal him there. But I like the Shane Bieber move. I think he kind of went a little under the radar just for how early it happened in the day and how many moves followed it. I mean, I did like the Sir Anthony Dominguez. They needed a bullpen arm there. And then you get Louis Varland and Ty France. I mean, just two bats. Louis Varland, sorry, pitcher, and then Ty France a bat. You can hit there. Ty France actually has not been as bad as you would have expected. So nothing special or crazy by any means, but I don't see what they could have done better. I wouldn't say I give them an A by any means, but I would give them maybe like a B minus B.
So I'll say this for all the people that called me names about predicting that they would move Bo Bichette at the deadline. Fair, fair, but we'll see if it works for them. Good luck. Um, yeah, that was a
I
bad.
do have to shout out Nick's picks because Bo Bichette is leading the Major League Baseball in all of hits right now. We do have a future on that.
That's all. That's huge. Let's talk about the Rays real quick. I think they made one of the sneakiest moves of the day, acquiring Adrian Hauser from the White Sox. They gave him two of their non-top 30 prospects. Um, they also moved Calabrero and acquired Everson Pereira, another outfielder who's shown signs of light, for the Yankees system. They also moved Littell. They made a lot of I feel like they sold more than anything and acquired prospects. Um, they also acquired Nick Fortes from the Marlins for prospect Matthew Etzel. Do you think the Rays, they're being that they're 2 games below 500? I think this was the right move. They had to be sellers and just focus on building around Junior Caminero and that staff next year.
Yeah, I was surprised that Pete Fairbanks didn't go at all. I was a little surprised on that, but obviously you expect to move a Danny Jansen, a Zach Littell was almost good as gone. I mean, you get a Hunter Ferdusha back in that deal that I know Ethan was very happy about there. Caballero, I mean, that's a guy like you're going to move him there. I mean, Adrian Hauser, that was one where I honestly laughed when I saw that the Rays were buying Adrian Hauser there because I'm not a big Adrian Hauser fan, as some people may know, but that one kind of shocked me there. So I'm very interested to see what they have in mind with him. I know he's been great from a result standpoint this year. I mean, been one of the most effective pitchers in all the American League since he started this year in his 11 starts. But the big move, obviously, Griffin Jax, which I think was one of the biggest moves of the entire deadline. And I was appalled to see that it was only Taj Bradley doing over. I thought it was going to be more. I thought it was going to be a top prospect because you're getting Griffin Jax. I mean, the Twins a couple of days ago said they wanted 2 top 100 prospects for Griffin Jax. And they got Taj Bradley, who was just DFA'd, who was a 25, 26-year-old pitcher. He has a lot of potential, yes, but he has not found success at the major league level. And I love that move for the Tampa Bay Rays.
They probably thought that they could flip improve Taj Bradley somehow, which I don't get. It's the Rays. If he's not pitching well with the Rays and you're trading I would never trade for a Rays pitcher ever if I was a GM. There's no way. If the Rays are willing to let go of a pitcher, that means they probably see something wrong. So, not as an injury, just okay, everyone picked up his pitch now. It's not a secret weapon anymore. We'll move on. But and that leaves Baltimore for the East before we jump to the Central. So Baltimore, they obviously sold Cedric Mullins, and he went to the Mets. I think that is another top 5 sneaky move of the deadline. I think the Mets did themselves such a service making a deal with Baltimore for Mullins instead of dealing with Chicago for Luis Robert Jr. They bought essentially the type player that Robert can be, if not better, but Robert has not played that way, and Mullins has. So any big, and they moved Charlie Morton as well. He needed a new home, so that worked out. Is there any big Baltimore Orioles moves or anything you want to take away from them and how they played the?
I mean, I don't know what you could have done better wise just on what you got back in these deals, but I think Mullins, you said to be traded. They did that. Kittredge, you trade him, get something back. Ramon Urias, trade him away. I mean, O'Hearn and Laureano, and you also get some cash in there. Sorry, you trade those guys away, and you get 6 guys back there. So you stacked up a lot of guys, and even 2 in the Morton deal, you got 2 pitchers back. One of them being Mike Ashburn. Fun fact, that was my first high school at bat was against him. But I like Baltimore's thing. I think they did exactly what we thought they were going to do. They were going to sell their guys off, and they got a lot of pieces back to work with. So Mike Elias he got his prospects back.
Yeah, they got 5 or 6, maybe even 7 guys who are going to be in their top 30, which is insane. That a third of their top 30 is going to come from today's actions. And they sold Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, guys like you just mentioned that guys that are not a part of the future for this team. So clearly not anymore. But yeah, Baltimore, they needed to sell. It was a down year, disappointing year. Kudos to them for waving the white flag and moving on and trying to work on next year. I think that's an honorable way to approach a deadline when you're dead in the water for the rest of the season. They're 9 games below 500. They're not taking this division. They're not going to make the playoffs. It was just time. Jump to the Central. Detroit Tigers. They've been on a bad run. I think they've lost 10 of the last 11 or something like that. They go out and they make some noise, not big noise, but they made some noise. You think that them acquiring Charlie Morton from Baltimore was their biggest deal, or acquiring Matt Manning from the Phillies, or I don't know, maybe even Kyle Finnegan, adding him to the bullpen? Rafael Montero.
I would probably say Kyle Finnegan would be your biggest move there. I mean, you add Charlie Morton and Chris Paddock there to the rotation. Obviously, Reese Olson going down for the year, and you also needed them before that. So nothing special there by any means. So I don't think anyone had really expected, at least myself, I didn't expect them to go get out anything crazy there. I know that Chris Paddock might be starting a playoff game for you now, though, just the way the rotation lines up for you. But I mean, then even you get a Cody Heuer and a Paul Sewald for cash there. So that's just kind of two more relievers throw back in there with Kyle Finnegan. I really didn't love their deadline that much, especially it was, they had a lot. It made me kind of think that I don't know if the Detroit Tigers felt very confident about how this team's looked lately. And if they said, I don't know if we really have a real shot because they're one of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. They were the best team in Major League Baseball for a long period of time. And this is not how a team that is the best team in Major League Baseball buys, especially when you have one of the best farm systems in the game. It just made me, like, after today, I just don't know how I really feel about the Detroit Tigers, especially when it comes to postseason.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little disappointed. I'll say that overall, just looking at them. But I think they did like the team is good. They can play if all the young guys hit at the same time. Like Torkelson saying, started off really hot. He's been playing down. Riley Green, MVP caliber player. When it's all said and done, I don't care what anyone says. I'm not saying he's winning the MVP. I'm saying he's MVP caliber player. He does the things that's needed to do between power, hit tool, speed, in order, and defense to win an MVP. Plus, he's on a top team in the American League and a top team overall in baseball right now. I'm really excited to see what this team looks like when they get Jackson Joe back from injury. That will be exciting. Um, but outside of that, uh, let's jump. I'm not going to cover the White Sox in detail. Obviously, Hauser was probably their biggest move. I'm trying to see if they didn't move Robert Jr. They moved Austin Slater to the Yankees for Gage Zeal, a top 14 prospect for them. And that was pretty much it. So the Royals, they they made their Yastrzemski move with the Giants, but the Royals, who are a team that I think they're interesting. They're a game below 500, and who's to say in the American League, sorry, American League Central that you don't go aggressive? Um, what did you think about the Royals' day? That Bailey Falter, Freddie Fermin, they moved. Total thoughts. They acquired Randall Grichuk on the Diamondbacks.
I mean, I did like them getting that Yastrzemski move down there at the end because it was almost they showed they were buying early on, a few days ahead, where it was they weren't going to buy anything crazy, especially too when they signed Lugo back, where it just they showed they were not going to sell here. And obviously, I'd like the Mike Yastrzemski move because you needed a bat there in that move, but you added Randall Grichuk, who rakes against left-handed pitching. I know he's had a little bit of a down year, but Adam Frazier too. I know he's been this year, but those that's soft buys. You're taking chances on guys there to help make this team better, fill some spots here. Obviously, you got Bailey Falter there. The rotations had some health concerns there this year, so get an innings eater there. And my favorite move the Royals made today was trading their backup catcher Freddie Fermin for Ryan Berger, who slots in as their number 7 prospect now, and Stephen Kolek, who's already a back end. I mean, he's a 5'6" depth option there for the major leagues, but you already get a depth arm for you and your 7th-ranked prospect for your backup catcher who's respectfully not that great. I'd do that any day of the week.
Let's talk the Guardians. They obviously moved Bieber, and they're currently right now second place in the division, 500 exactly. Big question, which people thought was going to happen. They didn't move Stephen Kwan. Um, what do you think how the Guardians handled this, given the stake of what we know the organization is, how they've been the last 5, 10 years, knowing that they have talent, it's just not panning out right now with everyone in sync this season. Um, and they got Jose Ramirez to build around, one of the best players of our generation.
I wasn't surprised that Stephen Kwan didn't get moved. I know there was a lot of smoke to that for a while there. But I didn't see in the first place why they really would move Stephen Kwan. I mean, he's making $4.1 million this year. Still has ARB2 and ARB3. I mean, with this team just went to the ALCS last year. I mean, they're a team they've shown they can go on a run here. You have Jose Ramirez, a top 10 player in all of Major League Baseball here. I wonder if their deadline would have gone different if the Emmanuel Clase news did not come out. I I do wonder about how it would have really gone down if they would have traded a guy like him. And then I think if you trade him, do you trade a Quan after that? I don't really know. But I wasn't really too surprised by them. I mean, the only two moves they made was obviously trading away Shane Bieber and then Paul Sewell for cash.
Yeah, and we didn't mention that yet. If you guys didn't know, Emmanuel Clase is under. Yeah, no, he put on suspension, or not put on suspension, put on administrative leave as the MLB investigates a potential gambling scandal, which is again another reason to stop freaking gambling if you're a professional athlete, especially in Major League Baseball. You're gonna get caught and you're gonna pay for it. It's just dumb. I know the money's there, and it looks so tempting. Put your money in Apple and just let it ride like that. I don't know what to say anymore. It's
And
just
from
dumb.
an organizational standpoint, it does not look good when you have let alone one guy on your team go on administrative leave for gambling purposes, but not two that were also two for the same exact issue of betting on a first pitch. That does not look great if you're the Cleveland Guardians. I know it's not they're the ones orchestrating it most likely. Obviously, we don't know yet, but that does not look good when you have two players on the same team that are being caught for the same gambling props.
Yeah, it's so funny how dumb people can be. And like I know they're not in trouble fully yet. It hasn't been proven, but it's like this is you know, is at least common denominator. And the math sometimes just adds up. And these guys, they're gonna get caught with doing this. Maybe not this time. Maybe it's the next pitchers who do this as well. They could be different pitchers from a different organization, but let me get, and they're both bullpen guys too, right? So it's like you're doing this in
Um,
weeks of another good teammate of yours getting in trouble. Come on, be a little bit smarter if like this is real.
Yeah, definitely not a good look, especially when the video starts coming out too, where it's they were betting on first pitches at the beginning and they're bouncing it 15 feet in front of the plate, which is
Dude,
not
yeah,
great.
it's so bad, so bad.
And we'll rotate over here to the AL West now too. I mean, I think we have to start here with the Houston Astros. I mean, they were besides the San Diego Padres, they were the talk of the deadline there for a while. I mean, obviously, you got Ramon Urias to sure up a little bit there. And then I mean, the biggest name value by means, they got Carlos Correa back. Carlos Correa is back in Houston. He's going to be playing third base. Esau Paredes is out for the year. I mean, you're going to figure out next year who's going to play where. It's just a figure out later situation. You're going to be Jimmy Pena back. You're going to get him back soon. So you got him back in Houston. I think baseball fans love that. I think it felt a little weird with him being on the Minnesota Twins for a while. And I mean, all they gave up, they just gave up one pitching prospect, and then the Twins too. They're going to pay $30 million of that contract, which is $90 million left guaranteed. And then also the vesting options that go from $25 million down to around $10-15 million. And they can all go all the way till 2029, and it's just based. The vesting options just based on plate appearances. In the 2027 one, I believe it's just 570 plate appearances he has to accrue to get that deal, and then it'll just pretty much stay healthy for the whole year to get that vesting option. So if he stays healthy, they could be on the hook. But we knowing his health history, I don't know if that was a huge thing they really thought about was if all these vesting options were going to happen. But and then what to me, I thought was one of the most underrated moves of the deadline. Jesus Sanchez getting him for the Miami Marlins, giving up Brian Gusto, Chase Dworsky, and Asmil Valencia. I love Jesus Sanchez. I've been talking about him being traded for a team. I thought the Padres were a great fit for him for a while, but he absolutely bangs. I mean, yeah, he's not a big name just because he's been on the Miami Marlins this year, but I mean, this guy hits the absolute shit out of the baseball. If you don't know his name, you're going to know his name soon. I know he only has a 740 OPS, but this guy hits the ball very hard, and he's a very exciting player.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how lethal Houston is now. And the thing that sucks is Isaac Paredes is out for the year. It looks like he might get surgery on that torn hamstring. Hopefully, that's not the case, and hopefully, he's going to be able to return. But Houston's gross. And they have Spencer Garrity kind of coming back soon. He's making rehab starts. I think they're going to be a very tough out come September, October. Talk about the Mariners getting Eugenio Suarez, the best rental bat in the market. That's huge for the Mariners. Suarez returns back to Seattle after a little stint with Arizona. Um, Hagen, did you? I had Suarez. Can't totally honest. I had him going anywhere besides the Mariners, just because, like, I don't know, for fun. I didn't want him to see go back to a team he's already played for. What do you think about the Suarez deal and for the Mariners? Do you think this makes them a legit contender?
Unfortunately, I do not say I
Sorry,
in
Josh
World
Naylor.
Series contenders aspect. I mean, I think there's still some worry that they can still have to make the playoffs versus where the Mariners are at. I mean, this is what they need though. You added Daniel Suarez and a Josh Naylor. You added your corners right there. Those are two great moves. And even too, I think a lot of us were expecting more than they gave up. I mean, Tyler Locklear, Juan Burgos, and Hunter Cranton for Geno Suarez. I thought when the deal happened, we thought it was going to be a Lazaro Montas or Ryan Sloan. I thought they were going to be big guys. So you kept all of your top 100 prospects, and you got Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor, two of the top bats on the market, and then Caleb Ferguson in the bullpen too. I know Mariners fans were a little upset because of just what the Astros got and how the other American League teams responded. But I think if you told me going into the deadline that the Seattle Mariners were going to get Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor and Caleb Ferguson, I think I would say that would be great for them. And I think they would have had. I thought they would have given up a few top 100 prospects to do so. So I don't think you'd be mad from that aspect of things, but I think just look at what the other American League teams did at this deadline, and then you start to look at. Do you think Houston's going to win the division now? I mean, we'll talk about Texas here in a second, but Boston's still ahead of them right now. The Yankees are a better team than them. The Tigers are still a better team than them right now. The Blue Jays, they're still in the fight for this wild card. It's not guaranteed they're going to make the playoffs yet. But I did really like this deadline for the Mariners. I thought maybe they could have done a little bit more, but I can't complain. If you would have told me it's going into it, I would have loved it.
I I, I don't want to say I totally agree with you, but I tend to agree with you. Um, I think there's still concerns and still things that they need to approve upon. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I think a lot of it also depends on like how Julio Rodriguez plays in the second half. Um, we'll see. We shall see. Um, we got like three teams left to talk about. Damn. Angels. You want to talk about the Angels for a little bit?
Yeah, the Angels. I know they've kind of gotten a lot of shit online just for them buying, and I can see that too because this team. I mean, we sit here as we speak. They're 4 games out of the wild card, and there's four teams ahead of them too in front of that spot. So it's you kind of look at this team and you see why are they buying? Why are they buying Oswaldo Peraza? Why are they buying Luis Garcia and Andrew Chafin? It was just kind of, I mean, those were the only two moves they made, and it was kind of just kind of a head scratcher at first on what are the Angels doing? Why aren't you selling off your rentals here? But then I looked at it and I said, every year in the offseason, every year, baseball fans always say, you want to see Mike Trout in the postseason. We always say, oh, the Angels don't put a team around Mike Trout. The Angels don't do this. The Angels don't do that. The Angels now are trying in their best way possible to do a soft buy and give this team a little push to the playoffs and to give Mike Trout a chance to play in the postseason for the first time since his rookie year. They do that and everyone shits on him. But I think this is what baseball fans have been wanting. They can't go out there and go buy you went out with Suarez. I'm not going to do that, but they said let's go buy here a little bit. Let's let this team get hot. This offense bangs. They have a few good pieces in the bullpen, in the pitchings, but I think I'm not too mad about what they did there. I know a lot of people wanted them to sell, but I mean they're trying to get Mike Trout to the playoffs, which is exactly what every baseball fan says they want every single year. So you can't say that and be mad at them when they try to buy.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong about that. Um, I think we got two teams left: Athletics, Rangers. Where do you want to land on?
Well, let's go Rangers first.
Okay, so the Rangers, they, I guess, made a few solid moves. I guess they moved um, Phil Maytone, and no, they acquired Phil Maytone from the Cardinals. They moved Mason Molina and Skylar Hales, two prospects in the top 30 in the system. They also went out and got Merrill Kelly for three other prospects that they gave up. They went and got Danny Colome for another prospect, and that was pretty much it. They just fortified the bullpen and added a starter who's pretty solid. I've never doubted the Rangers bats. They're just not in sync right now. They haven't been all year. They weren't last year. Um, Clearly, the organization still believes in the bats in the lineup with the Corey Seagers, the Adolis Garcias, and the Evan Carters and of the world, the Josh Youngs when he's healthy. Marcus Simeon, I'm forgetting about. They have a ton of guys. They do. It just put, and I'm not mentioning Wyatt Langford. Like they could really perform and be a great offensive team, but we'll see how this plays out. I don't think it's the Rangers' year, but love that they're going to make it competitive. How about you?
I did really like the acquisitions of Danny Kalum and Phil Maton. I think they're not the sexiest names by any means, but I love that. I thought that was great moves they needed for their bullpen. Not these expensive high end closers that I don't think they really needed, in my opinion. I think these were the right moves. Go out there, get these guys who can be set up guys for you. They can close games if you need to. Worst case scenario, but and also getting Merrill Kelly too. I mean, this Rangers pitching staff too is pretty solid. I mean, he goes in there after he's going to slide in as your three behind DeGrom, Evaldi, and Merrill Kelly's Mr. Consistent, Mr. Quality starter. I mean, he's peripherals. They're never going to love this guy. He's never going to be sexy doing it, but he's always going to be there. You know what you're going to get out of Merrill Kelly. And then after that, you have Patrick Corbin, who's been great this year. Then the Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, whoever takes that last spot there. So it's going to come down to the bats on if they can hit and this bullpen can stay healthy and not implode.
Yeah. And then finally, we have the Athletics. The Athletics, they obviously made the huge Mason Miller deal where they acquired four prospects. Now they'll all be in their top 20, but with Leo DeVries, Braden Nett, Henry Baez, and Edward Neal Nunez, if I'm saying that right. I think that's a really big trade for them. Um, I think that they also moved Miguel Andujar and acquired Cincinnati's number 22 overall prospect, Kenya Huggins. Um, the Athletics, they're a weird team. They're not super competitive. They're moving cities. They're not even they don't have a team city name in front of their team right now. What do you think? What do you think?
I honestly thought there was no way Mason Miller was being dealt this deadline. I just thought there's so much team control left in there, and they talk about putting a competitive team on the field by the time they get to Vegas. And we already see too. I mean, this offense can rake. They have like the first time in a while that they have like this true core of Nick Kurtz is one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball this year. Jacob Wilson was the rookie year before he came up. And they have Brent Rooker up there. I mean, Langoliers is a good catcher back there, but there was just the pitching was the issue there. And Mason Miller, I think it sucks to trade a guy like that because obviously not alone is he just a closer, a lockdown closer. You want to have that knowing you can feel confident the game's going ninth inning, but he also is. I don't know. It just sucks to lose a guy like that who's, I mean, been a great story too. And you don't want to lose somebody too who's just a big name value too, especially for a team like the Athletics. But I mean, you got from the pipeline, you got the number three prospect in all of baseball. So I really don't know. I've been thinking all day about how would I feel about this deal if I was an A's fan, and I still really don't know if I would be happy or I'd be mad about this because yeah, you traded Mason Miller and you're looking forward to the future, but it almost feels like are you pushing your window back a little bit more? I really don't know.
Who was your favorite move of the deadline and for who?
I think my favorite move's got to be Yohan Duran to the Phillies. I think that's just exactly what I think I've been talking about at least since day one on what the Phillies need is they need a legitimate closer for me to take them serious in the playoffs. And they went out there and they got that and got maybe the nastiest closer on Major League Baseball, a top five closer arguably in the sport who also has team control. And you also too, you kept Andrew Painter. You gave up Mick Abel. You gave up Taid too. You didn't have to give up Crawford. I mean, you didn't have to give up Aiden Miller. I mean, I think that's great because then you have Painter now who you can bring up in the rotation now soon. And you still, I thought that was a great deal by Dave Dombrowski.
Dude, I think that the Athletics acquiring Leo DeVries is monumental. I don't know why. I feel like Preller really messed up with this move. I think he prematurely traded Leo DeVries, going for it all, and it's a big risk. And DeVries looks all the part of being like a perennial all star. Mason Miller, yes, he's starting pitcher eligible. That is not a guaranteed road. That's not a guaranteed road. And like people today when I was hating on Yankees moves, they were like, "Oh, blah blah blah, he's gonna come down there. Look at his splits. Look at his stats." Like, has David Bednar ever pitched in New York before? Has he ever been in pinstripes? Has Jake Bird? Like Ryan McMahon's been a few days. He's been great. He got a hit the other day when I was there. Um, he got the game winner the other day. But it really depends on the mindset mentality. Like it's really tough to get accumulated or accustomed to a new team middle of the season. And I think that DeVries for Mason Miller, I think this is a big move for the Athletics if this works out. I think that dropping Miller, getting to bat, you're not going to be like, let's be real, you're not going to be competitive at least the next 2 seasons. You're not. You're not going to be competitive. And DeVries is that type of guy to give you a shot to like really build around this young core that they have that they're starting to build. So with Nick Kurtz, are you kidding? Like Jacob Wilson, Leo DeVries at second, maybe. Like it could be super nice, dude. It could be really nice in Vegas. I'm a big fan of it, but we got a couple more things that we're gonna get out of here because we're at a minute hour 15 already. So, real quickly, um, uh, there was a fight supposedly. This is according to ESPN between Manfred and Bryce Harper, verbal altercation. Supposedly, it was an intense one. So the issue is MLB doesn't have a payroll, a salary cap. The MLBPA, the Players Association, does not want one. The owners do. So this is going to be an ongoing fight. The current CBA expires December 1st of 2026. So they think there's going to be a lockout. The main topic of this CBA is going to be salary cap. Um, and Harper in this altercation reportedly said players weren't scared to lose 162 games. I don't know how true that is. Speak for yourself. You have a massive contract. Not everyone does. What do you think about this? Are you for the salary cap, or do you like the non-payroll, just pay to play, and if you're a billionaire, pay up to make your team competitive?
I don't know if anything in the world right now frustrates me more than talking about a salary cap as being good for baseball. I genuinely get upset about this thing because they say that it makes competitive balance here. Well, there has since the start of 2020 or sorry 2001, there has not been a single repeat champion. Look at the NFL has salary caps. The NBA has salary caps. There's been dynasties in that league. The Chiefs every year now. The Brady. I mean, even the Cavs, the Warriors, those teams were in there. And they say that, oh, the salary cap's going to get rid of that. No, it doesn't. We have proof that does not work on leagues that are honestly, quite frankly, bigger than Major League Baseball. So this salary cap is an awful thing to do for the sport. In my opinion, it is the single worst thing the sport can do. Rob Manfred, he's just speaking for the owners here. He's really just doing what they want them to tell the players. And the point, too, Bryce Harper, when you said that we're not afraid to lose 162, I guess – I wonder how if that is just his team. Obviously, isn't like the whole league, but obviously that's different for these rookies that haven't made the big bucks like Bryce Harper. It's easy for him to say that. So I think maybe he might have been a little wrong on that sense. Obviously, we don't really know for sure, but I'm glad. I know you probably shouldn't be sticking up and telling the owner to get the f out of your locker room. You probably should not be telling that to the commissioner. But I'm glad Bryce Harper did because this is a big thing for baseball, and he's telling Rob Manfred that we're not doing this, man. You're not gonna do this because then the players are gonna earn less money. That the
Yeah,
players are gonna fight for this. It's the single worst thing that the sport can do is add a salary cap.
it's just like you're in such a baseball renaissance right now with the way you've managed the league. Like a lot of talent, more fans, more viewership, great TV deals for most teams. I know other teams are working out, getting out of their deals and getting on better ones. Um, this would be a disaster. It should totally not be a salary cap. I love my Indiana friends who don't watch baseball who they were like, "Oh, it should be. It's unfair." It's like, dude, even hot professional hockey now has back-to-back champions. Like you said, baseball hasn't had a back-to-back champion since when? 2001?
Since the start of 2001, there has not been a back to back.
Yeah. 25 years there hasn't been a back-to-back champion. Like there's parity in the league. Trust us. It might seem like the Dodgers, just because it's always fun to be a Dodgers fan. Last two things.
And
Sorry, you go.
and real quick, just another point on the salary cap here. I mean, there's the people that just say, okay, the Steve Cohen and the worlds can come in. And I know I sound a little different because I'm a Mets fan from this aspect, but Steve Cohen, every dollar he spends right now, there's 110% tax that is going to the other teams that are below and they're earning the money. And we have the issue with the A's. They had to sign Luis Severino because they were not spending enough money to get that money, and they were going to get sued by the MLBPA. Miami Marlins are in the same situation. They still could be getting sued by MLBPA because they're not spending enough money. That is a bigger issue than these teams spending $400 million and then paying the other teams for doing so. And also, too, I saw this was from Ian O'Connor from The Athletic. I thought it was a great quote. So, quote, capitalism has worked out pretty nicely for the barons who own these teams. Mets owner Steve Cohen wouldn't be worth $21 billion a day if the hedge fund earnings over the years were restricted by a salary cap.
Well said. Eye-popping stat of the week. The MLB announced that it had sold well over 85,000 seats for the regular season game that happened at Bristol Motor Speedway. That's awesome. I believe it was set to break the MLB record for single game attendance, which was 84,587 set in Cleveland back in 1954. Crazy, right? And
I mean, this is awesome for the game of baseball.
you want to know something crazy?
It's awesome to show.
It is awesome. Sorry, I cut you
What?
off there. 1954, right? This week, I go back home, and my grandpa gives me one thing. It's this copy program 1954 New York Giants Cleveland Indians World Series scored Willie Mays with the original ticket inside. This is one of the coolest pieces of baseball memorabilia I'll ever be handed. Dude, we got Ted Williams smoking cigarettes on the back of this thing. How sick is this?
That is amazing.
Yeah, I'll open it up and show you.
That is awesome.
But it was like, wow, this record hasn't been broken since '54. My grandfather handed me this. It was like, it was bound to be this week when you gave me this. I thought it was the coolest thing. He was actually in center field when Mays made the catch in the World Series. We have the photo everywhere in the house. It is awesome. Baseball's so back. Trade deadline was awesome. Any last thoughts, Hagen, before we hop off?
I think that's a great piece of memorabilia, and just on the Rob Manfred point, this is great for Major League Baseball. It shows the game's been doing this great job. So stop telling teams that baseball's gonna be in a bad spot if you don't get a salary cap, because you clearly are just showing that baseball is growing, and you're really contradicting yourself there. So pick one side or the other, Rob.
Yeah. We're out on the commissioner right now. And we're done for the episode. Thank you for all who've been listening this entire time. Go get some sleep. Obviously, you can see I'm exhausted from this week. And bye.